This is Garum, and of course I am ignoring reality. Welcome to Game News Bites. Only good information, all duds removed. Xcom 2 Resurrection Book Summation Part 17. Alright guys, where did we leave off last time? Well, Amar and his team have just rescued Lily from Advent capture, and we just learned something real big. She spilled the beans. Alright guys, here we go. I told them everything. The mission, the Elpis. I even told them about my father, she said in a low voice. Of course she had. How could she not? Amar thought. But then something sprang into his head. A small glimmer of hope. Maybe we got there in time. Maybe there's still a chance. Amar wasn't sure how the aliens communicated long range. Did they file a report or send some manner of brain fax? Of course, not much could be done about it now anyways. He would get word to the captain of the Elpis, Captain Loxonin, and to Elder Shin. Hopefully they would have a solution or some kind of contingency plan. Amar tried talking Lily into returning to the Elpis to recover, but as usual she was stubborn. I need to be there when we find the ship, to assess it. Besides, if I screwed this up for everyone, I should be there to see that too, Lily said. Things quieted down soon after, and Amar decided that he would attempt sleep. So much had happened, he needed the quiet, the rest. Sleep came easier than he expected. Amar had been out for almost 2 hours when one of Volodi's men shook him awake. There's an Advent patrol coming. A big one, she said. Amar snapped awake and reached for his weapon. Luckily, he had fallen asleep in his armor. He headed to the infirmary. He needed to see Nishimura and the other wounded soldier. So, Doctor, how is she? Amar asked, motioning towards Nishimura. She cannot be moved, if that's what you're asking, the doctor replied. No choice, Doc. I won't let the jabbers have her. Amar pointed to a bloody yet serviceable stretcher. Load her onto it, get my soldiers to help, he said. The Advent were close enough that he could hear them prattling on in their strange language. They needed to hurry. Volodi, Dux, and the rest of the group grabbed everything of value and eased out back, carrying Nishimura on the stretcher. She groaned loudly, still unconscious. Volodi led the group through the back alleys into an old canal where 3 boats awaited them. While everyone loaded up, Amar eased himself into the water and grabbed the mooring line. Luckily, it was not too deep, just above his shoulders. Looking back, he saw everyone was mostly settled in, and he began towing them away. The water was warm and thick with weeds, smelled of sewage. He was doing his best, trying not to imagine what was living in that water. Instead, 1 foot ahead of the other, he had to get through this. Behind them, a small ways back, he saw an Advent trooper. Amar froze, hoping the darkness was sufficient enough to hide them. Everything paused for a moment. Nothing moved. The Advent soldier looked around, but had obviously not seen them yet. Nishimura let out a loud whimper. Dux covered her mouth. The Advent soldier raised his rifle. A shadow appeared from behind the jabber. He heard a faint choking gasp, and then the trooper toppled into the canal. Amar saw the moonlit flash of steel. Then, whoever it was blended back into the shadows. Must have been one of Volodi's men. A little after midnight they had made it back to the river, which proved too deep for him to walk in. So, he went around the back and pushed by swimming. Dux jumped into the water to help. About an hour later, Volodi led them to the Kettle Valam, a large houseboat where he and his men helped Amar and the rest on board. The next day, Amar sent Nishimura to the Elpis for medical attention. At least there she would have a chance. Amar's trip on board the Ketu Valam came to an end when they docked at what had once been a small village, but now served as a hiding place for fuel and munitions for Volodi's group. Amar and his troops climbed into a jeep that had also been stored there, and headed south on dirt roads. The trip to the ship's coordinates were taking much longer than expected, little more than 3 days. Yet there, they could all see something in the wilderness, yet not of nature. A large craft had slammed down, mowing down a swath of trees in its crash. Amar had expected something disc-shaped from everything he had ever read about the invasion, but this was far different, somewhat boxy and longer than it was wide. "Wow, this seems remarkably intact," Lily said. Finally, they had their Avenger, Amar thought. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this one. If you want to go ahead and jump to part 18, go ahead and click right there and I'll take you to it. Thanks for watching, guys.